pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Purposes of the record, today is January 2nd, and this is the first meeting of the Redevelopment Commission for 2025. This time I'd ask all individuals to sign up for the electronics that they have, and we can get started with, it's slightly different from the agenda. I'll go ahead and do the appointment of officers first, and then I'll let the president, whomever you elect, begin by accepting the minutes from the 2024 meeting in December. This is Chris Steven. I am the city attorney and acting in the role of city attorney. We'll now open the floor for any nominations to the appointment of president to the Redevelopment Commission for the year 2025.
I would nominate Burkhart for president.
A nomination for Mr. Burkhart. Is there a second?
Second.
Nomination by Mr. Dornick, second by Mr. Poley. Mr. Burkhart, do you accept that nomination?
Yes.
Having heard any acceptance, is there any from the audience that would like to have any comment or statement on that? Having heard none, I would ask for a motion to close nominations.
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Klosterkamper. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Poling. All those in favor of closing the nominations signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Nominations are now closed. I would ask for a motion to vote on Mr. Burkhart as president. I need a motion to say we're going to vote on it.
So moved.
So moved. I'll take Mr. Poling and I'll take Mr. Klosterkamper as the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. It is your meeting, sir. You are now the president. You need a vice president, and a treasurer. No, you need a vice president and a secretary.
Vice President, Secretary?
Yeah.
Any nominations for Vice President?
I'll nominate Ken Burkhart. I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion made and second for Ken to be Vice President. Any discussions? Hearing none. Ken, you accept that nomination?
Yes.
Okay, we'll have a vote for that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Congratulations, Ken, you're Vice President. And one of you two, we got to have a secretary, so you get to do a coin flip for that. Who wants to be secretary?
I nominate Mark Klosterkamper.
Thank you. I'll second that nomination.
Second.
Any discussion on that? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote. All in favor for Mark to be secretary? Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Congratulations, Mark, you're secretary. Okay, I think all that business is out of the way. Then we'll go on now more toward our agenda here. The first item is to approve minutes from the December 5th regular meeting. Oh, we do a roll call. Yes, we do. Okay, do a roll call.
Darren Burkhart,
Here.
Ken Dornick,
Here.
Mark Klosterkamper, Darrell Poling,
Here.
Mark Bauer.
Next item is to approve the minutes from the December 5th meeting. Has everybody had a chance to look at that? Is there any corrections or comments to those meeting minutes? Hearing none, the minutes will prove as presented. We did the officer, so next we're on to old business. Zach.
Good evening. Starting down our list, the Ironman apartment complex, we have been having some discussion with them, just back and forth. We have a meeting set up with them next Thursday, just as a kind of kick off the new year, see how they're going along with their tax credit applications, and address a few items on the economic development agreement. So just making sure the project is still moving forward, and hopefully coming out of that meeting, we may have a better timeline of construction and everything else that go with it.
Who's meeting with them? Are you and?
They still
The mayor
feel-
and I don't know if anybody,
They still feel pretty confident about the tax credits.
that's what we're gonna find out. So, they haven't said otherwise on not being able to get them, but hopefully we can get a more updated answer on where those are going, and not just hearsay of, but we pretty well know they're pretty tapped out for the next 2 to 3 years. So it's either a matter of pulling credit from somebody else, or maybe they have another idea of how to get some of their funding too.
See if they have a plan B or something.
That doesn't involve us.
I think I also have that meeting on my calendar as well.
As
So
far as
if
this-
you and Darren and if you and Daryl wanna attend, you're more than welcome. It's a team's meeting at 2:00 next Thursday.
Oh, it's a Teams?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I might be able to do that then.
Can
I'll
you
go ahead
send
and
a
send it
link?
to you.
You can send something to
You
me.
guys can make it great.
But as far as the specifics, 3 floors, 4 floors, et cetera, we're just kind of waiting until the tax issue's taken care of.
Yeah, I mean, right now, I think everybody's on board for the 4 stories, and ultimately, I guess that does come down to some sort of financial commitment because it costs more to build.
Right.
But,
Check in next week.
yeah, just kind of make sure everybody's still doing something.
Any other questions on Ironman? Move on to your next one.
Liberty Lakes, if you haven't driven out there recently, that house is moving along quite quickly. The roof's on, shingles on, I think the HVAC's installed. So they are progressing pretty quick on that one. They've come before BZA on Tuesday next week to get their 2 variances approved through the BZA for the road width and lot width. And then I assume as soon as that gets done, we'll have the secondary plat approved, and they'll be coming in for more permits for housing. They still have, probably not quite half the asphalt in, so they can only go so far with their lots, but that's moving along. Jim just told me they had a meeting with the utilities today, and electric, gas, and fiber are all set to come in the next 2 weeks to start putting all their utilities in, so it'll get everything moving forward even further.
Any status on, are they started selling lots?
I don't think they've sold any lots yet.
No.
No lots sold yet, just Beacon. They're basically building that as a spec home to, it'll eventually be sold. I don't plan to hold it for very long.
The one house you started, looks like it's coming on nicely. I started about
Does look very
10
nice,
years
yeah.
ago. I'm assuming that telephone, fiber, et cetera, is gonna be buried.
Yes. I think electric and the telephone go in the same trench, and then the gas is obviously on their own. So those 2 will be going right along together.
All the rest, utilities, water, sewer, storm, is it all in place?
Storm's mostly done. They still got some under drain to lay, and then last I heard there was about 10 meter pits that hadn't been installed yet for the water. And we hadn't tested the forced sewer system yet. We're still working out specs on how to test it.
It's high pressure, but. Okay. Any Any other questions on Liberty Lakes? Last one?
Unfortunately, I have no updates on property marketing. So, had some interest that I haven't touched base with them in a while, and they haven't reached out in a while, so I don't know if it's completely gone away or what's going on there, but sorry, I apologize, that's not completely true. We did have a meeting a couple weeks ago with a developer looking at that 12-acre lot. So I had a call with our realtor and them, and just kind of going over rough layout and this, that, and the other. Is nothing. I don't think they had anything that they were pushing to bring in. They were just looking for investment land to see what they could bring in to do it, and kind of looking to see what we wanted in there. So I told them we were kind of maxed out on.
Updated all of the people that want to put in the exercise.
They submitted their plans a couple weeks ago, I think. We had quite a few comments on their site plans, and I think Mark Helmick, the city's building inspector, had some comments on their structure plans, and then I think the state also had quite a few comments. So they're going back to the drawing board on their plans for now. I haven't talked to them on their schedule. Obviously, it's all driven off whether they get their plans approved by us and the state. So
They have to get their state approval first before you issue your, I'm sure you can do it concurrently, but.
yeah, we typically tell them to submit it to us at the same time they send it to the state. We'll get it approved faster than the state will. So I don't think we wait on the state, but obviously it's contingent on the state actually approving it. So.
Any more questions? Zach? Okay, move on to new business then. Rob?
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for letting me come speak to you tonight. I think I know a few of you up here, not everybody, so it's I didn't get a chance to meet everybody yet, but thank you again very much. I was asked to come present to you guys by Josh to come to this meeting, and he and I, obviously, you've probably heard what I'm doing. My position with the Parks Department is obviously sports tourism within the county. Primarily, that's not my title. It's a recreation sports coordinator, but my primary task within my position is to drive revenue to the county. One thing that directly does is impacts the city of Greensburg, given that there's so many of our facilities within the Parks Department that I'm trying to promote within the city limits. So, not almost all of them, except obviously the one thing we're trying to confront now, and Zach and I have talked about a little bit, is the complex. And it's the primary reason why I'm here tonight. The things that Josh and I have obviously talked about was potentially being partners in the improvements we are making to the complex. So I wanted to just present to you all tonight, and I won't try to take as much as your time. I know there's a football game going on, and we got to get back to that. But I just kind of want to share with you the same presentation that I gave to them, to the county. So with the commissioners and the council and the county redevelopment commission, the phases, kind of where we're at, and then also to what we're short in our first phase, and then what we're looking to do into the future, what I'm trying to do in the future with that, and go over some numbers too on the impact study on how it could directly impact the city of Greensburg. So what I can do first, since this is already up here, I'm going to try my best to drive this impact study, and we'll talk a little bit about this. I'm not going to go into huge detail, but obviously sports tourism across the United States, and even in cities, counties like ours, really drives economic impact. The numbers that I get here were just taken from numbers over the last 10 years, and I'm not going to lie, with the help of AI, it was really awesome, and to pull this information together. We based it off if we did 15 tournaments per year. Look at this here. We came up with that number. There's a more detailed one here. Let me go to it first. Zach, I'm going to go ahead and go to this Word document. Find the the right one that you have here. That's the wrong one. And did you all receive this electronically, by the way, this information? Okay. So we ran this off a number of 50 teams. Average team size would be 12 players, and then 3 family members per player staying within the city as well. So obviously you're gonna have some day trippers too, right? There's gonna be teams that are local that come through and don't stay. So these numbers are conservative. Part of all this is we've already guaranteed 14 tournaments to U-Trip next year. And that's just through, that's actually 13th through July, and then we have an October tournament for Halloween reserved already. I anticipate that to be close to 20 before the year's over, only because their year goes from August to August when they're talking USSSA baseball and softball. So around May, I'm gonna start negotiating with them again to book those tournaments after August 1, when their new season starts. And primarily with the turf going in out there, you know, that is, they wanna play here, only because it's, you know, the biggest thing is if it rains, they're gonna be back on the turf within a few minutes, right? Or 20 minutes probably after play, 20, 30 minutes. Maybe even sooner, you know, sometimes they maybe will play through it. So we're looking at those numbers, and this is where they came together, basing off we had turf. And like I said, these are conservative numbers in my opinion. So the total family members, 50 teams, times 36 family members is 600. So if we look down on those numbers, average stay per night, we just estimate around $120 per night. So the total lodging revenue would be $144,000 for a 2-night stay. And I think that 50 numbers, because our tournament's gonna be around probably more around 70, 80 teams that come to this. And that's just based off what USSSA told me what their tournament size will be here, so. Probably 70 to 80 teams, average, that come to Greensburg, that will play here on those weekends.
You could get enough games in and out with that, with just the fields you have.
With the 8 fields, yeah, so we'll run all 8 diamonds still. 4 will be turf, and they will like to play some of those on Fridays as well. So they will start on Fridays. So you'll see the ones that have the majority of those tournaments, or the higher team tournaments, will be started on Fridays. And I think there is one tournament that actually will start Thursday night, run through Friday. I don't know how they do that, but I would say the kids probably have to take off school and everything else to get that one in. But so then we broke it down. And when I broke down these numbers, obviously I wanted to look at revenue that we generated basically in a couple different ways. For like what the revenue we would get to sustain the complex. So that now we're basically doing it off field rental and concessions, and then also there's an economic impact revenue as well, right? The money that's going back into the city or the county, right? And I think it's primarily going to be in the city limits because this is where all of our hotels and restaurants and things will be that people will go and eat at. So we anticipated our local spending would be around $50,000. Miscellaneous revenue is around $5,000. Which means our total economic impact revenue per tournament will be around $243,000. That's looking at your lodging revenue, your local spending, and your miscellaneous revenue. If you take that times 15 tournaments, which I said is conservative, that's about $3.6 million for the year. Now, if we get that number up to average around where I want to be around 20 per year and sustain that relationship, I mean, like I said, that's going to be a conservative number, and we're only basing it off 50 teams. So. We look at the concessions number, and this is just for our sustainability. That number comes in around $157,000 per year, but that gives us enough money to operate, to do the things we need to do, and put money back into the complex once we get it started. The ideal is obviously to have all 4 diamonds turfed within the next 2 to 3 years, 24 to 36 months. So that is my goal. Our suggested ROI, well, the initial investment we thought was going to be around $950,000 for those 4 diamonds. I need to adjust these numbers. Like I said, I'm giving you the same presentation I gave months ago when we started the project. That actual number that came in was $200,000 less than that. So that the return on investment is going to be significantly less than 5 years for those front 4 diamonds, just based off the income we will be generating out there. Are there any questions so far about any of the numbers that I've presented? I'm talking about. Let me go back to. Zach, where was the PowerPoint? I'm sorry. Was that on?
Just to the left of the word
were some, like, if you looked on here, I don't know if this interests you at all, if you look at the placer data we pulled on this, this was neat to me. So Brian Robbins helped me gather this information, and Emma, I believe it's Emma, right? Brian's office, yeah, Emma Luddle, if you look on here, what this placer data shows you is where like this is in Columbus at Saraland, so I took it from our competition, and they run a lot of tournaments. How far folks are coming from around, and of course, obviously the darker blue is where they're more concentrated. So you're gonna think that some of those are probably day trippers, but the ones that are further out are probably ones that are gonna spend the night in those areas. And then one cool thing that it does, if you look down past it, it tells you where they're going after. If you look at that information, they're going to the restaurants, they're going to the hotels, those types of things. So they are going in those communities and spending money after they play. So that's primarily how that data is based. So and that's kind of where we want to gather, get those numbers on what our economic impact's going to be. So like I said, I think my numbers are highly conservative on that. And hopefully in the end I'm right, you know, so when we start running these tournaments. And the bottom line is, I think even though regardless it's going to be a good thing, we're putting the turf in down this I-74 corridor before any of our competition does. I can tell you right now, a lot of the tournaments that Shelbyville is getting have already moved to here for softball. They don't want to play in Shelbyville anymore, obviously. They have some other issues going on there, and like I said, with the turf, us having turf on our 4 diamonds, they're trying to figure out ways to where they can run these tournaments with as many teams just to be on there, just to be on those turf diamonds to get them in. So they're already in talks with us too to get the state tournament here, part of the state tournament ran here in Greensburg as well. So
Is Saraland turf?
Saraland is all turf. Every one of their fields are turf now, and I think they have 8 or 9, maybe 9 now. They did a college field back there. Now that's ran a little different, and I'm open to this as well. So I don't know if Saraland is actually a USSSA ran field now because they have a contract. Now they didn't put the money up for them. What USSSA does, their baseball side, Ohio Valley Sports, what they do is they pay them monthly under contract for those diamonds, but they control them. I'm thankful that we have the ability to do that without having the control, right? So they just said, okay, we'll go get the money, put it in, but their repayment is, with the turf companies, everybody else, USSSA is paying that bill. But USSSA also says, I get to control when your rec leagues play. So my biggest thing is when I present everybody else is this is gonna benefit our kids in the city and the county primarily. That's my biggest goal of this, is that our kids get to see the benefit of this. And I know that's the goal of our commissioners within the county. A lot of our council members said the same thing, that we would even like to see it generate enough revenue to where these kids potentially may play for free in the future and play on turf for free. And I think it definitely has that. We are taking over the concession as the Parks Department, and we'll be running it primarily, so we will, and with doing that, those monies will be used directly for maintenance. We will have people hired to run that throughout the week. We will have maintenance people dedicated to the diamonds, especially through the weekends. Let me go to since we're speaking of that now, let me go to Excel
Before you go there,
spreadsheet.
Can I ask a quick
Yes,
question?
please, yes, go ahead.
Okay, so, and you may have already answered this, how is this going to affect the kids in our community that plays Greensburg youth baseball and of course the ladies softball? Are these tournaments scheduled around us, or do we schedule around the tournaments?
Well, we don't primarily play on the weekends anyway in our rec leagues, okay? So we're working together with our boards. Now, they do have some Fridays that they want to use. They don't like to play Fridays. It's usually a Monday through Thursday with our baseball and softball rec leagues. So it works out to our benefit, but the thing of it is, we kind of primarily hold that card to say, if we need that Friday, we're gonna take it. You know what I'm saying? But the idea of this whole position and what we need to do to drive revenue is to give them the weekends for the tournaments, right? The outside, tournament organizers coming in. So USSSA, USA Softball, whoever else we decide to work with, it gives them the opportunity to have the weekends to do that. Now, they want to start on Fridays because of the turf. So we're working with the boards right now, softball and baseball boards. So we're going to work together. They understand the importance of driving the revenue to make it more important, like so our kids see the benefit here in the county.
Certainly, yeah, I can see the benefit on both sides.
Yeah, exactly right. And that's something, and the great part about it is that anytime there's a question, I feel like I've really built a relationship up between our USSSA representatives, and I email them all together when they have a question. They're totally open to discussing and negotiating these play dates, when they're actually going to play on the turf, so. So the goal is to make sure our rec leagues primarily have the say over when we're gonna play there, but both knowing, hey, we still wanna bring tournaments in, so.
Compromise on both sides.
Compromise, exactly right, thank you, that's a good question.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question on the revenue,
Mhm.
lodging. I don't know how you're gonna generate that kind of revenue. We don't have 600 hotel rooms here in town.
Sorry,
We have about 360, or just under 360.
360?
That's filling every hotel in town.
I had a feeling that some of those rooms would have to go to, if they're staying close, if we were full here, then they would have to navigate the Batesville shuttle to even.
So I mean,
Make that
I
number
mean,
work.
since I don't know that you could count that as revenue coming into the
No,
county.
I mean, hopefully they would stay here to eat, and if they had to go stay somewhere else, but hopefully in the future, we would have that many rooms. Obviously, that's the idea, is to drive enough interest in the county in these tournaments to where we're building hotels and restaurants and everything else within the city limits.
I mean,
Yeah,
just
no.
physically, there's not enough rooms.
It's good to know. I honestly didn't know that number.
Yeah.
So.
Secondly, on the concession revenue, is it a closed concession? So are these teams allowed to bring in coolers and that sort of thing?
I will work with tournament organizers on that. I know some tournaments you go to, you can, others say no coolers allowed. So then they're driving it to purchase things with us. I wanna make it so where they do not bring in coolers, you know what I mean, to the complex. Now, if they walk out to their car and go to their cooler, I mean, that's up to them, right? There's nothing we can do to stop that.
I'm curious, because do you have any numbers to support I'm not that familiar. Have we had tournaments out there at this complex in the past?
We had one last year. Was all.
What kind of revenue did the concessions generate?
I couldn't tell you because that was all ran by the softball board. And baseball, one of the two boards that are in the tournament was the one working the concessions, so I couldn't tell you what the numbers were. And that's part of the reason why we're taking that back over too, because the Parks Department didn't have control of any of that. The ordering and things were done directly by the softball board, so.
I'd like to get, because basically, from what I can tell, looking through your numbers here, the main revenue that you're anticipating is through concessions.
Yes, yeah.
So if we don't get that number right, then this whole thing that revenue number's maybe inaccurate, I guess is what I'm saying.
I will just give this answer not because it's a legal answer, it's in my purview, but I was on the youth board when and at that time, the baseball youth board did run, I think we ran 3 or 4 tournaments per year, and the concessions were by far and away significantly greater than what they were during like normal rec league play.
Oh, yeah.
So like the tournaments do generate quite a bit of revenue. The only reason that they stopped doing them, honestly, was because of the time investment to board members.
Yeah.
That said, we just can't give up that much time of our normal thing. But they were very profitable endeavors for the youth board at that time. I know several pieces of equipment that are out there were funded 100% through the tournament play that they had out there. I would also point out, just having done some of these and watched travel ball through a lot of people, in addition to the hotel rooms that you're talking about, I think you'll also find a significant increase in non-traditional lodging, such as campgrounds and so if you look at Saraland's a good example. They have a very large campground associated with it that is full at these tournaments. So I do think there's some revenue that's probably not that may not have been captured or easily captured in terms of just straight hotel rooms.
Yeah.
But they are generators. They do make money.
They do. I appreciate your comments, Chris. I agree. I feel like the number here I use on that is a little, like on the concession, it's gonna be higher. When I really think when we add 20 tournaments into that, some tournaments may be higher, maybe less, but we also want to run food trucks out there, and the camping aspect is really being debated to allow camping at the court or at the fairgrounds. Sorry.
Right now, we don't have any, I guess I'm thinking, we have a campground? I'm not a camper, so.
You've got three that, you don't have any that are truly local. You've got one out at the lake that's relatively small. You have one, St. Paul.
I think, I knew it was St. Paul.
Then the other closest one's probably, honestly, Saraland or
Yeah.
Indian Lakes.
Indian Lakes down there.
But I would say that at least recently, the county did start allowing camping
They
during the
did.
Power of the Past, I
Right.
believe,
Fairgrounds.
at the fairground.
Do they have facilities for that?
It's not like a
Not
true
traditional?
hookup. Yeah. Yeah, so they don't have electric sewer hookups the way they you would at a campground. But I do think you've probably got a economic model to at least look at how they did with Power of the Past. I believe, and please don't quote me on this, I'm just going off of what my recollection was, but that they were very pleased with the Power of the Past and how that got handled. I think they made a little bit of money off of it. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily gonna drive your ship, but it's certainly gonna help.
Yeah, there is significant talks about them adding hookups out there as well as putting like a, what you could put like a pump tank in there for sewage for them to go dump and then put it in the right place. You know what I'm saying? Wherever that needs to go. That way nobody have to drive far, dump it illegally. You know what I mean? That would be right there. So that is something that a lot of people like to do when they go to these tournaments. A good friend of mine here in town, their son just started playing travel ball. That's the first thing they bought was a camper, you know, and it was a huge camper. You know what I mean? So it is a big deal, you know, that when they start traveling these tournaments, he might not even be any good, but they bought a camper, right? So,
Big investment.
yeah, exactly.
Just a couple of thoughts. First of all, I have daughters and son-in-laws that were heavily involved with ball diamonds back years ago. Scheduling and everything else, so they were really involved in it. One thing that concerns me a little bit about the revenue from the stands is that all of that was manned strictly by volunteers.
Yeah.
And now if you're gonna be paying people, that's gotta eat into that profit. This is hard to say, hard to say, but you had a lot of parents that were heavily involved in what their kids were doing and were willing to volunteer to man the stands.
Right.
A lot of times it came down to the same group of parents in any
Yeah.
volunteer situation, it's always like that. But that does concern me somewhat, because you're gonna take a chunk out of your profits that way.
I agree 100% with that. I did take, you know, some of the revenue out because of that, just to pay people. We do have it within our budget to pay employees for concession and for maintenance. We are hoping to add an additional person, but it's to be on a rotation what our current maintenance people are. So we already currently on payroll, just adjusting their schedule a little bit through the week so they can cover weekends. So that will do that. And you're right as far as the volunteer piece goes. And that's part of the reason why things are the way they are out there now. Not to say, you know, and there are a lot of people that put their blood, sweat, and tears into that complex and don't want to discount anything they ever did and totally need their partnership still, for this to happen. But I don't want to have to go ask them for their volunteerism again, because it's not like it used to be. Parents don't want to volunteer anymore. I'm the treasurer on the youth football board for Greensburg, and we have the hardest time running our youth when we host for youth, because nobody wants to volunteer. So it's just us. We have to ask outside organizations to come help us. You know, I hate to say it, we had to ask our volleyball team to come help us last time. We won't go with the Greensburg football, what was going on there, but you know, we had to ask them to come help us out on that time to just help us get through that, because we didn't have enough parents that want to volunteer. So that's totally, I understand that totally, and that is going to be a hurdle for us within this first year to see how all that logistically works. I'm not going to lie, it's a concern of mine as well. You know, but I do feel that there are a lot of folks that have talked to me, and we have a lot of support for this within the community that want to see this happen and are willing to help do that, to help me get through this, to help, with ideas. I've had probably 5 people that want to come out and do maintenance, whether it's making 15, 20 bucks an hour, you know what I mean? And they don't have to do it all the time. It's, hey, let's go shifts on a Saturday where you can come out and pick up trash and make sure everything's good, or you can be on call in case the toilet gets clogged or something like that. So it's definitely on my mind. I would say every day, Ken, that we have to stay on top of that. So
Something was brought up to me, and this was just mentioned to me, so for what it's worth. We're gonna have 4 diamonds with turf on them to begin with.
right.
My understanding is that the kids need different cleats for turf and soil. So is that going to, number one, it's gotta complicate scheduling for one thing. And I don't know how that would impact teams coming in.
Well, you do not need different cleats. They just all have to. You could use molded cleats on dirt and on turf. You cannot use metal cleats on turf. We'll tear it up. But you can use the same molded cleats that you use on dirt is on the turf. You could use vice versa. So now, once you hit a certain age group, I believe it's 12U, 14U, something like that, you can go to metal cleats. But that's totally I think it's driven off the facility. We could totally say no metal cleats, and that's known before they come, and they would have to make sure they have. A lot of these travel kids have both. You know what I mean? They have, they're spending tons of money. They have metal, they have molded, they have either one. So.
This is not throwing stones at anybody.
No, I got it.
No,
Okay.
but we all remember back to when the facility was packed every weekend, from Friday night on. I mean, as a parent and a grandparent, we spent weekends out there for the whole summer, and we haven't seen that recently. And I'm hoping this will revive that.
That's
to be
what I
very
want.
honest with you.
That's exactly what I want.
Yeah.
And I plan on being there to make sure it happens.
I'm encouraged by your comment about teams that had been scheduled for Shelbyville possibly and canceled to move down here, because that was one of my concerns. Back 15 years ago, we were the Diamonds the
Right.
facility in southern Indiana. But since then, a number of other towns around us have gotten on that same bandwagon. So I wasn't sure how much that would dilute the number of teams coming in for tournaments, et cetera. But from what you're saying, that's, at this point, not an issue.
If I could share emails and just a sentiment of the U-Trip organizers that they tell us how excited they, just even today, tell me how excited they were to be partnering with us and be back in Greensburg. It's been years since they've been here. They want to play here. They believe that we have a great location. Just off I-74, makes it easy for them to get from Seymour, even from anywhere, right, to get here to play. So the idea, and I wish Brian was here. He can't be Brian Robbins. I know he's a very big advocate of this. He wants us, and he's on our parks board. He wants us to be the premier facility where people want to go again. So and that's kind of what the my plan, my phases kind of put us in there. You know what I mean, with the improvements that we want to do to the facility. So yeah, that's where we want to be, Ken.
Kind of walk through this
Sure.
your spreadsheet here.
Yeah, so the top, phase 1 obviously is just, phase 1 is turfing the front 4 diamonds. As you can see, we did receive from ARPA $550,000. We did get edit funds from the commissioners of $100,000, leaves us a shortage of $100,000 on there. So
Other funds are committed.
other funds are committed, yes, they are committed. And then, obviously that's what we're trying to get from the city as a partnership, is that $100,000. I don't know if we'll discuss that once I go through here, if you would like. The next, phase 2A is our dirt renovation. So on that dirt renovation, that does include the back 4 diamonds, where we're gonna add material grade, install new batters boxes. In those batters boxes, they're called they got rid of jocks boxes, they're called Force Flex or something like that. They're this new, they just came out this year. But it's basically kind of like a composite cement that goes in, can't be tore up about 1 inch, 2 inches under the dirt, so they can't dig holes in that anymore. And we also are gonna put them in the pitching areas for the girls, so they can't do it. On top of that, I'm gonna have mats where the girls pitch off of now too, because the biggest thing is, if you go out to those diamonds now, there are holes in every diamond where those girls pitch off of. It is dig and dig and dig where their foot drag, and it's, nobody's ever taken care of it again, filling it back in with the clay and then re-pulling the dirt back over it, so that will eliminate that on those dirt ones till we're able to get turf. So you can see the cost was estimated at $101,000. We did get commitment from the Redevelopment Commission, so $141,000 of this, and that also includes the equipment. So we will be getting equipment to properly maintain that, opposed to what we have now, which is, if you've ever seen the old Jacobson from like 1975 that runs around out there with the drags that are old, this new equipment will actually let us maintain that, as well as pull our new drag around the turf. So on the turf, or the groomer, that turf will be groomed, and I wish I had Sean Mang with me. I think he's ready. He's the softball board president. I think he's ready to drag the turf every night if he has to make sure it stands for a long time. So that equipment, that does include our groomer and the maintenance equipment for the turf. So that's committed funds as well, the $141,000. Phase 2B includes a bunch of different things here. Let me scroll down. Oh, it's on there. It is on there. So we are going to add an additional restroom and concession stand, estimated around $170,000. That will be behind Diamond 3, in between Diamond 3 and Diamond 7. If anybody's familiar with the facility, there is I guess you could call a shelter back there now that will butt up against that shelter, which will allow folks to sit there and eat. We'll get rid of the current picnic tables that are in there and put nicer tables in there. So that will be there. And on the back side of that will be a 5-stall restroom for men and women behind it, and there'll also be a little maintenance door in there to pull equipment in and out, or allow us to have diamond dry and things like that, and they're easily accessible by those back diamonds when they need it. We do want to, so we're going to seed around areas, and actually the estimate that I got for up there, we're going to move some of that money to the bottom, because we did allow Brad Schutte, since he's out there doing the groundwork now for AstroTurf for turfing the diamonds. He is going to take on doing the back diamonds as well, getting those ready for us, and he's going to sod a lot of those areas. We're going to get rid of the gravel that's by the diamonds right now, and we're going to put sod around it. Within his estimate, because if we redo them in dirt, one of the biggest problems we have out there right now is gravel was put in around those diamonds, and now you have that gravel within your playing surfaces, and it just contaminated. So then you have kids sliding on rocks and possibly getting cut, things like that. So the idea is we're going to get rid of all the rocks, all that stuff. So anyway, so then we're also going to do, so the new mats and mounds are also in this part as well down here. We're going to secure it. Obviously, if we're going to have turf, we're not going to let anybody come out there and destroy it. So we're going to put cameras, fences, and then also put access control on those, so we can allow people in with a code card or through a app-driven device. That way we don't have to be running around back and forth all the time to let people in to access the diamonds if they rent them or need to use them. A windscreen, and then of course we're putting air conditioning in that front concession, because everybody knows who's working concession, Chris, and that is, it's hot, you sweat like crazy, and it'll help you keep our product better that's in there. So we did want to do that. So the RDC, Decatur County RDC, part of so you know, just to be transparent, we did receive $400,000 for these phases from the Decatur County Redevelopment Commission. So if you can see highlighted in there is so I have $141,000 and $204,000 of that is there, $204,500. So basically phase 2A and 2B are covered as long as they come in under budget, all those items. So as of right now they are. So then we look back down into phase 3, some additional things we're gonna do here. Obviously the big thing is we would like to turf the back 4 in time. The current number with that is $676,000 to complete those back 4. We are also going to blacktop that back lot. I guess you would call it the north lot. That's out there, out by Diamond 5, behind Diamond 1. That has been on our agenda for the last probably 2-3 years. I've not been in the Parks Department that long, but I've learned that there was money awarded to us from the commissioners 2 years ago to do that, $50,000. The cost is going to be about $102,000. So I did take $52,000 that was awarded from the RDC, Decatur County RDC, and place it towards that as well. So we could have that completed with $50,000 of our own that we already have in our budget. And then you'll see there's gonna be blacktop gravel areas and walking paths, so what, that would complete the areas between Diamonds 1 and 2. And we're also, Brian and I worked strongly together on this, Brian Robbins and I, to where we're gonna put a walking path that links the parking lots back around, I guess you would say, Diamonds 3 and 4 from the parking lot by 8, and around the little playground area there, and we're gonna make it a sensory path. And what that'll do is allow, kind of link in with a inclusion park and things like that, allow kids that, with disabilities, or not just kids, but anybody with disabilities that would want to come around and have different things to keep them busy while tournament play. We think that'd be a great addition to that. I have a ton of other ideas as we grow that I did not include on here, but as far as batting cages, nets, things like that would be out there. We are getting batting cages in town here, which would be cool, and for us people to partner with and go out there and hit if they have a downtime, but just other things that I see other complexes have. So we did apply for a Honda grant. Brian and I, with our fingers crossed, are anticipating we get that money to complete that path. That's what we're gonna put that for. That grant would be dedicated directly for that sensory path, that money for that. So then we would give us an additional 20, after this, we would have an additional $2,500 from RDC. So the total storage would be right around $876,000. But that's primarily the new turf and what we're short for the turf currently going in at $100,000. So, may have any questions on that?
What's your time frame?
Time frame? I have been told we will be done by April 1st. The front four and the back four, everything will be done by April 1 for tournament play. And that's their goal this year. Not turf. The back four will just be dirt. The turf will be done. Actually, they're ahead of schedule. There are 2 diamonds ready right now. They always start putting turf down on Diamonds 2 and 3 the week after the snow here. That weekend. They're supposed to be here on the 12th or 13th, so let's hope. Of course, my first worry was how far is this snow going to slow us down, and we're still 3 months out from completion, and they think it's going to be no issue. So, yep. I visit out there pretty much every day just to kind of keep track of everything. They're moving right along.
What shortfall in trying to get everything done this year then?
Well, the bottom one we don't. You're talking about the 100,000, the 876 we won't. The 876 includes what it would cost to turf the back four diamonds.
That you don't have a schedule?
No, I don't. Yeah, that's something. That's phase 3. That's hopefully we get done within the next 24 to 36 months. That's something that's out because that primarily includes that number. The other items for phase 3, given the blacktop lot and the gravel, obviously, if I didn't count the grant money in there, obviously it doesn't have to be done, but I'm anticipating we'll get that grant money to get it done. So I didn't count that as any kind of shortage on that. Oh wait, gosh, maybe I did. I did. So it was 676 and then 100 from the top from phase 1 and then additional 100 for the Honda grant. Comes to 876,920.
So to complete phase 1, 2A, and 2B, you need 100, your shortage of 100,000, is that a correct statement?
That is a correct statement, yes.
Okay.
Yes, so the ask to Josh was the partnership of the $100,000. And given all the other money that was allocated, I don't think that's a whole lot to ask. I mean, it's going to be up to you guys, whoever other powers to be, but I think it's for that. I mean, the impact that the city will see, I think it's going to be tremendous.
A legal question. I have a legal question.
Yeah.
Since it's outside of our,
I knew this was coming.
outside of the city limits, and this redevelopment commission is for the city of Greensburg.
I thought the same thing when I saw it on the agenda. I would have to look. If it is within our economic development perimeter, even though it's not within the city, it's still something that we could potentially authorize. What I would have to look at is how far we extended the boundary when we first created it, because because there's a couple of different TIFs that are all covering a lot of the same dirt. So you have some of the Honda TIF that's still out and about. I don't think this is gonna be covered by that. So I know it's not covered by any of our downtown stuff. I don't know what the outer edge of our general economic development TIF is that you guys are available. So, I mean, that would be a question that I would probably say I need to get you an answer before you can invest any funds in it. You have to make sure that you are within your perimeter.
I don't know that perimeter was ever defined. I mean, the area where the only area that I know that was defined was where we're pulling the tax differential revenue from.
Right.
And that has to be in this city. It's our.
Correct.
I think it is all in the city.
Yeah, I would have to go back and look at your creation ordinances, and what and I have them. I just gotta go look at them. But that would be the only question is your approval. I mean, obviously, the county's TIF, it's very easy for the county to do it because it's definitely county dirt. But being contiguous to ours, I just don't know where the line was. And what I'm a little, I don't know, the airport